fifth and potentially final set of the regular season of Pro League will be played on Naro's station. Spawning in the top right-hand position, the yellow Zerg from CJ Entis. His name is Hydra.
His opponent spawns in the bottom left position, playing for Samsung Khan. His name is Trend.
Now, don't know anything about Trends though.
We're just gonna have to wait and see.
I apologize for that pun.
Just try to run along with it. Seems like Trend is gonna go for the pylon inside the main base, as Hydra, of course, opening up standard. Now, it's really curious to see what Trend decided to prepare on this map against his opponent, who is known as one of the better ZvP players in Pro League.
Yeah, definitely. Also, you know what? I wouldn't put it past Hydra to go for the hatch first. He has done that in the past. Wouldn't be surprised if he did it in the future, but he also has to think about, you know, I don't know what my opponent's up to. He's an amateur player. I haven't really seen him before. Maybe I need to be safe and just go for the spawning pool before hatchery.
Yeah, so only time will tell on these two players, as Trend is going to open up Gateway first.
Yeah. So I love seeing the Gateway first from the Protoss players against Zerg. Opens up a lot of different timing attacks and makes the Zerg just feel a little uneasy overall.
Yeah, and that's been the norm. The Forge Fast expand has been the norm for all these Protoss players. The problem with the Forge Fast expand is if you're trying to be aggressive early in the game, you cannot do so because you don't have the units, and once you get the first Zala and the Stalker out, your opponent already has up to 3 hatcheries. And with the additional Mothership Core and Heart of the Swarm, Protoss players can open up the Gateway first and then still expand later into the game.
We do see Hydra going for that hatch first, so he will be able to easily get away with that against this Gateway opening from Trend. Grab his Cybernetic score now. He's got 2 guys in each geyser as well. So just going to be accumulating some gas here. Not going for like an insanely fast Stargate or anything like that.
Hydra, after checking that there is no pylon at the natural, he immediately puts up an extractor, knowing that he needs to start getting some gas, and he could do so right now, especially since his opponent does not have the natural nexus.
Yeah, wants to go for that Zergling speed early on. Very effective at dealing with early timing attacks from the Protoss player, while still remaining cost efficient.
So we're just waiting to see what Trend is going to do. Most likely he's going to grab an expansion, wall off at the natural, and going to try to harass his opponent with a forward pylon.
Yeah, he's already got his probe out here, and he's got the minerals to put down that expansion. There it goes. Still, we have the warp gates in production now. Finally, the Mothership Core is on its way here.
So for those of you guys watching the VODs, Trend is a new player for Samsung Khan. This is his first match in Pro League. However, if you talk about Hydra throughout the whole season, he's been doing okay in win rate, but he is the #1 Zerg player with most wins. 29 wins and 26 losses, scoring 17 and 6 against Protoss players.
Yeah, that's true, and it's kind of weird that he's that high there, and he's actually #1 because there's other Zerg players out there like Roro and Sulky that kind of stole the spotlight from him because you know, they did really well in the individual leagues, both of them winning a GSL title.
Yeah, Hydra has been sent out a lot for CJ Entis, also acting as an ace player when Hero wasn't doing so well. The problem for CJ Entis throughout the whole season is once they switch to Heart of the Swarm, Effort, Hero, and Hydra, those 3 players did not adapt well to Starcraft2.
Yeah.
Heart of the Swarm.
Indeed. And that was probably the biggest issue for CJ Entis, and why they really fell down in the rankings, because they used to be one of the top dogs.
And instead of going for the Stargate, our Protoss player from Samsung Khan is going for the Twilight Council.
You know what, I noticed, I think he was trying to hide some of his units over in the corner in the bottom left, so... Okay, well he is showing the Stalker now, but he is playing a little bit devious here, a little bit secretive in his openings. We could indeed see a Blink Stalker timing here, but he's also free to go for the DTs.
Yeah, so we're going to have to wait and see what he decides to go for. He has the minerals and the gas to go for both Blink or DTs, and it is going to be Dark Shrine from Trend.
Unfortunately for Trend, the lair is about to finish for Hydra here. So, I mean, if the DTs come in, he can defend against those pretty easily with some Overseers, but, you know, there's still potential for damage to be done.
Yeah, and the Roach Warren also going up on 2 bases with Hydra then also starting for our Zerg player, as he also needs to start thinking about getting a 3rd base soon.
Yeah. Indeed he does. Actually, I'm surprised he hasn't gotten the third base already. It's 7 minutes in, and he's actually getting the Hydra Den.
Oh, this is going to scout the Dark Shrine, no problem.
He sees the Dark Shrine. I actually think that Hydra may be going for a bit of a two-base timing against his Protoss opponent here. He's getting the Hydra Den, he's getting some roaches out, getting a lot of gas. 4 geysers overall, still no third base. This is definitely going to confuse Trent as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, Hydra needs to make sure he can defend against the pressure before he can go for the counter attack. He has 8 roaches coming out, a spine crawler going down somewhere at the natural as the Zergling is going to try to run by and going to try to take out this pylon, but it's in a really nice position.
Very smart to pick off the probe there and keeping the Zerglings alive, segmenting the Protoss army while the roaches can move in here and try to deal some damage. 3 DTs in production, but look at that, 2 Overseers. DTs, what DTs? They're not going to do anything in this scenario, and as long as the Overseers keep an eye out on them, then, you know, pretty much I don't see them doing any kind of damage to Hydra's economy here.
Definitely. Now, behind this trend is taking an early third base at the semi-third location. It's far away from the natural, but certainly if the Protoss player walls off in that direction, he can fortify the base. The problem is Hydra is still sitting on 2 bases. He is getting a lot of units out, which means that once he hits a nice timing attack, that third base is going to get taken out, and he might be able to bust Trent's wall off and go for the attack and win the game.
Yeah, Hydra's sitting on just 43 workers here. And, you know, Trent's probably assuming that his opponent has a third base at the other location, but no, Hydra's finally going to take that third base in 9 minutes and 20 seconds into the game. I think that's the latest third I've ever seen from a Zerg player here. I really thought that Hydra was going to commit to a strong timing here, but it looks like no, he just wants to play, you know, ultra defensive, get out a lot of units to defend here and try to maybe crush his opponent with a large counter attack after thwarting, you know, a big push from his opponent. We have extra gateways on the way from Trent. He's got the Archon in the mix as well, getting Blink, and beyond that, no AoE units.
Yeah. But because he took an early because Trent took an early third base and Hydra did not scout this in time, he is slowly getting away with this build. If he just warps in a lot of units over at the third base with the Nexus Cannon, he can defend against the roaches and the Hydras that Hydra has right now, as long as he has the good force fields.
So Hydra, he really went out of his way to get a lot of units early on and to kind of, you know, stop the drone production, but it's still a little bit confusing. I guess he's waiting for the +1 and the roach speed to finish before moving in for an attack. He is ahead in supply. He's got a pretty solid army composition, but for how long is he going to have a good army?
Well, remember, his opponent is only going to have a Blink. Archon is not a good AoE damage army against the Roaches and the Hydra, so this is still looking really strong from our Zerg player, and he can take out the third base no problem if Trent does not see this on time.
Indeed, even with really good force fields, I'm not sure if he has enough units to defend against the Roaches here. Nice job killing off the proxy pylon using the Overseer, the C on the high ground. The third base has completed here. It's scouted, but there's currently no saturation there, and we haven't seen any drone production from Hydra in a while. He is supply blocked, but he wants to go in for the attack. The problem is the sentry count is looking very formidable here. Hydra, a few of his roaches are getting caught out of position, and they're doing their best to be sacrificed as sentry killers, but this is a little bit weird for Hydra. Can he actually fight against the weight of the force fields? That's the problem here, and the force fields go down, trapping a lot of the units, but Hydra still has a lot of Hydralists in the back, along with roaches. Regardless of how many times he segments off this army, will it be enough here? The Hydras have the range upgrade. They're able to just simply pick away at these units, and the Stalkers trying to blink back, but I don't think it's enough. The roaches tanking in the front while the Hydras do the damage in the back. The Zerg, the Protoss player, running out of units to defend against all of Hydra's units.
Really unfortunate for Trent as +1 just finishes right now. The third hatchery does get saved, but Hydra doesn't really care about it as he's only focused on taking out his opponent's third base. And Trent, he's panicking right now. He's building an Immortal behind this, but remember, Hydra, he doesn't have pure roaches. It's roaches and Hydras into the composition.
Indeed, with these additional reinforcements coming, a lot of Protoss units continuing the fall here. Hydra being very cost efficient with this army, and also looks like he wants to contaminate that gateway there. It's about to fall. I'm surprised he's not just going for the pylon there, but he really just wants to end this game right now, actually sending a few roaches to the third base to pretty much make that base useless. Hydra pushing forward with the remaining amount of his units. The Immortal's going to get focus fire down potentially here. The Stalker count, though, still formidable here, but it doesn't look like he has enough to defend against the units that Hydra has. This is looking like it's going to be the last Pro League game in the normal season.
Tren just a little bit unlucky. His opponent was going for early aggression, except he did not scout this in time. GG is called as CJ Entus wins against Samsung Khan 4-1.
Indeed. And with that, it's the final match of Pro League, not including the playoffs. Finally has been concluded here with CJ Entus being your victor.